Hello and welcome to the Chatter Vox Podcast with me, Dave.
And me, Callum. No, I'm Dave.
And me, James. And again, Callum's not here.
Yeah, he's still on holiday. Last we heard, he was actually riding a herd of parrots into the Caribbean, trying to see how far I can get to, how close I can get to the sun. He's currently at the moon, gone the wrong way. Anyway, on to real things. So, I have been reading the Horus Heresy.
Yeah.
I've took the plunge.
I'm pleased you have, because I feel like you started off maybe in the wrong place.
Yeah, straight in the where we are now.
in the current times, yeah.
My main reason was because I wanted to read. I've heard Siege of Terror is really good.
Okay, yeah.
So, but you need to read the Horus Heresy, or at least the first 5 books I've been told, at least, minimum.
So I think I've read about 20 of them.
I say I'm reading, I'm audible.
Yeah, it's all the same
I'm not reading. Like, not a geek who reads. I'm a nerd who rolls dice.
So it's been a long time since I've read the first 3. I have read them twice.
Yeah.
Because they are by far the best of all of the books that I've read. You get like the occasional, army specific one that is a bit more interesting. And actually, I think this is where it becomes kind of interesting as a series, because everybody, and I feel this is the same for all books, when you read a novel in the 41st millennium, if you have that army, you're more into it. So we were talking about the Fall of Cadia, which I read recently.
Yes.
And you said you didn't like it as much, did you?
I liked it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I was as wild as you was with it. But I think, like you said, that is because
Of the armies that are
the
in
army,
there.
yeah, because the sisters got a lot of, like, Genevieve, was it?
Well, they got some really cool stuff, and I actually didn't like the sisters to begin with. I really quite enjoyed the Imperial side of it,
Yes,
because there's quite a lot of Imperial Guard.
The guy in charge of it.
Yeah.
What's his name?
I can't remember.
He's
but
now...
he's really awesome.
We're trying to give spoilers away.
But I thought that you might like it because you've got, obviously, Mechanicus in there. You've got Belisarius.
Belisarius cool, yeah.
But yeah, I always think that the books that you read and like are probably related a little bit to what armies you play.
I think the standout guy from that, who everyone probably loves, Trazyn.
Chaz in the Infinite.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Just Pokemon.
Yeah. Yeah, and so he actually releases Ephriel's... No, he releases Greyfax.
Yeah.
Which I thought was absolutely amazing.
Again, can't say too much, we don't want to give spoilers away.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, by the way.
Because I know I've seen you on about the discussion they have when she comes out. And
Yeah,
that was good.
Very cool. And there's lots of different things in that book that kind of like, oh, so that's how that works, or that's what that is.
What I liked about the Greyfax, which this isn't a spoiler, that over there's 2 Inquisitors, isn't there?
In that scene.
There's one that comes on and she does.
Yeah.
She tells them what to do. Then this Greyfax comes up.
Yeah. Don't say anymore.
No, but there's an order and
Greyfax. Yeah.
Ugh.
Really, really incredible moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely don't say that.
Yeah.
That one's a really interesting one. But yeah, sorry, completely cut you off. But I think with the Horus Heresy specifically, I've enjoyed things like the Blood Angels books and a couple of like the other ones that you're kind of interested about that specific army. I really loved the Thousand Suns one, where they basically fight.
This is what I was going to ask, actually. It seems like a lot of the books, pick your favourite army, just read the book, and that's sort of like a side book. Is that right?
So it's kind of like, you know how Game of Thrones is, it's all happening at the same time. So you see like Arya's perspective, and then you see, Benjen Stark's perspective, and then you see whoever's... Yeah. But it's kind of like when they come into contact, they're doing their bit all at the same time.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like that with a lot of the books, and obviously then eventually you get a progression. So, obviously Horus is doing his thing, and then you see what's going on with like some of the other Primarchs at that same time, or what's happened based on Horus's actions, and then, some of the other people's, their actions, and then their actions, and how they kind of each go evil at the same time, or they stayed loyal, and how they get betrayed, and X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
So my personal experience, it's a real slog. It is really hard, but I've enjoyed reading them sequentially, one after the next. I say enjoy very, very lightly there, because it is hard, because it's kind of the same thing over and over again. But you do learn a lot. So you get a lot of information from each of those different aspects, because obviously they're doing all their different things, and they're doing like, say the Edict of Nicaea, which is essentially the ban on all psychers. And obviously that has an impact on, how other...
Do you actually see that in there? 'Cause in the first book, they mention it's already happened.
Yeah, so that's what I mean.
But you don't actually see the build-up to it.
Yeah, you see the meeting.
You do.
That happens, yeah. And then obviously the consequences of that for all the loyalist factions and the ones that don't consider themselves psychers and the ones that don't care, like Magnus. And so obviously you sort of see the tragedies and the reasoning behind like people kind of falling or, Sanguinius, for example, he almost fell because he kind of like wanted to get rid of his, what's it called? It's basically like their blood rage.
The blood rage thing, yeah.
The red thirst. So essentially he kind of, Khorne sort of said, we can heal this if you join us. And he went, no.
Oh, so Sanguinius.
Yeah. I mean, he obviously, but that's kind of his thing. He loved his children kind of too much. So that's obviously his sort of weakness, really. But yeah, I think you can learn a lot from it. And actually, you can learn stuff about different Primarchs. I love the Primarch books. Like, for example, when I saw the Dark Angels, I was like gutted that I wasn't a Dark Angels player because their one is epic.
That lion.
Basically just knights running around on a mental world where, they don't actually have modern technology because they haven't got to that point yet. They haven't been found by the Emperor. And they just have this society of knights that just go and kill like warp creatures, and the lion's one of them.
So that's why the lion's dressed a bit medievally.
Yeah,
Typical.
That's why they're all,
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
So I mean, yes, if you don't want to read the whole thing, I think people do say read the first three, then read, the ones that you're interested in, so your factions, or any others that you think you might be interested in, and then go on to the Siege of Terra.
So what I read was you read the first three because that tells you that's the main story. Eisenhorn, the ship. Eisenstein. It's the fourth book of the Death Guard.
Okay, yes.
So I think that's when Garrow goes to warn the Empress. That's like a big tie. That's like the turning point.
Yeah.
And Thorgrim apparently is one you need to read.
So it's worth reading. It's a little bit confusing because there's a later, and I won't go into too much detail, but there's another book that happens later on, and you kind of not really told something that you're not sure whether it's true or not, and I'm not 100% sure myself.
Yeah.
It's really hard to explain without giving too much away.
They're good books.
Yeah,
and some of the narrators are the first three are fantastic.
Yeah,
and then the guy who's reading the fourth one is the guy who likes reading the Black Legion.
Imperium. Okay.
Yeah, the Black Legion.
So, what do you think of the first three? What was your first impression of your first book?
I never realised how much of a geezer Horus was.
Yeah,
he's actually really like cool.
And the Mournival as well.
Yeah, like Abaddon.
So, for those of you
Aximand
out there who don't know, so you've got your main four sort of like Space Marine lieutenants and
captains, is it? And
who kind of have different specialities that all join together as kind of like a special brotherhood to
they're like Ekal, aren't they?
Yeah, Horus, to kind of keep him balanced. And so one's like really loyal and the other one's like really bloodthirsty, and then another one's like, the kind of like logical one, and then the other one's like a bit of a dreamer. So it kind of keeps him in balance.
He sort of uses them as well to be planned, like so they ask the questions.
Yeah. But he
looks like the good leader.
Which is brilliant as well. And that obviously sort of shows what Horus is like. So he's very tactical minded. He's really charismatic.
And it does generally sound like he cares for his legion.
Yes.
And he's especially his Mournival, they seem like very that's his boys.
Which is really nice.
Yeah.
And actually it really plays into the story of obviously his downfall is quite tragic.
Yeah. Spoilers, he goes traitor.
Does he?
Oh my God, I know. What I didn't realise, because I don't think all the laws I've heard about Magnus.
Yeah.
And this is like, when I listened to it, I was like, holy shit. Like, Magnus actually tried to dissuade him when he came as a wolf.
Yeah.
I was like, did never hear about that. You always hear about Magnus trying to tell the Emperor.
I think I've told you about it, but the problem is when you haven't experienced it yourself, it's hard to take that information in. But yeah, no,
And then the conflict between... Everyone knows the story about... Everyone hates Erebus because of this reason. Erebus and Magnus having a tug of war pretty much over Horus.
Yes, yeah.
And obviously he chose... I think that's what you mentioned about Nike, and Magnus has used sorcery to...
Yeah, so it wasn't then.
They've already mentioned that Nike happened.
Oh, maybe it was then.
Yeah, and that's because he's using... Erebus sort of goes, he's using sorcery somehow. Look, he's breaking...
Well, I think in order for him to be there, he still has to kill loads of his own.
Yeah, he does every second I'm here, so Thrall of mine dies. But yeah, I was like, wow, Magnus actually tried to intervene.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, Magnus was, in all sense and purposes, trying to do the right thing, and then just got absolutely battered.
Next thing you hear about Magnus is the Emperor's called for him to get back and called on the Wolf Lords.
Yeah.
So, but it surprised me how good the book was.
Oh, so that's what it is then. So, so the Edict of Nike is already in place.
Yes.
And then he gets called back, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's right, yeah.
Because you mentioned that the Wolf Lord's been sent to grab.
Yeah.
And then Horus, you don't actually hear him give the order to kill Magnus, but he sort of hinted like, oh, he's picked up on this.
Yes.
So I'll deal with that.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's really good. So I really enjoyed just the Space Marines being absolute badasses.
Yeah.
In like the first 2 books, is it? Is it Murder they're on to begin with?
Murder's the second one.
Okay.
The Megavacnids.
Yeah, they're
the first one's the Samus.
Yes.
The Whisper heads.
Oh yeah,
you see your first demon.
Yeah. And you've also got the kind of like Eldari type humans.
Yes, yeah. That's the second book.
Okay.
Because Erebus steals the...
Yes, yeah.
It's, again, people know the story of this one.
Yeah, so that's probably my favourite then, because that obviously clearly stands out in my mind. But yeah, so tell me about the first one then. What was the first one?
The first one is... I can't remember who they're fighting. It's laid out that they're going to kill the Emperor. So your first impression is, so that's what I mean, the Emperor, the Eldar people. But they're Eldar human. They kind of feel like they've been interacting with Eldar, hence they've got Eldar tech. They're kind of a bit more peaceful. I know on the second book they go to the people who already Eldar have spoken to them and they've told them about chaos.
I don't know.
In the second book after.
Okay, maybe. Well, I mean, you've read them more recently, so I'm sure you're right. With the you probably are right then. So the first one there.
First one when the guys you hear about Samus in the which says you hear it's quite an eerie.
Yeah.
The way the narrator does it.
Yeah.
It's very like ASMR-y, like Samus sort of thing. It was a bit like ooh,
scary.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He sounds a bit eerie, and then the second one is more Nurgle based, and then they go to. Oh, hold on. Was that the third one then?
That might even be the fourth one.
The fourth one's the Eisenstein, so that's all. It's based on Garrow.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So they're all Nurgle, aren't they? I thought.
Yeah, but they actually go on a place because the guy who stabs Horus is the Nurgle. They end up like a plague land.
Yeah.
But before that, they go to guys who tell him about chaos and say the old have come to us and they've got their artifacts locked in, and then one goes missing. And they get kicked off. Yeah,
because everything's going well, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Abaddon's sort of like, we need to kill him there.
Yeah.
They're dealing with Xenos. Not because Abaddon's not a bad dude at this point. He's just, we don't deal with
it's just a no-go.
Xenos now. And he's a bit like bloodthirsty.
Yeah.
The one I do like is Little Horus, Aximand.
Yeah.
Because he seems a bit of a... And in the third book, when the Mournival face each other... And he gets
it's really sad, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, and he's like really gutted, but then he just says, Ezekiel Abaddon, he's like, I need to keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, so even he's turning against...
Yeah.
They're all starting to go a bit... Turning against each other now.
Yeah, it's a really well-written trilogy, I think.
Especially, it's all different writers as well.
Yeah.
Which I thought was good, that they've all obviously got together.
Yeah. I just love the way that it sets up all the scenes really well, and you've got a lot of, nice personal interaction. You've got a lot of character development.
Yeah.
And that obviously can build later on. So you really, like, I think everybody loves Loken, who's like the main sort of space marine character. He gets like initiated into the Mordival to begin with, and then you sort of follow him around for.
I think if you first read it, because I know our friend Matt was saying, like, is it just a bit of like fanboy?
Yeah.
Really. I mean, I think the first few chapters you read with Loken, you sort of think like he's just a bit of an all-round action hero, good guy. But if you stick with it, he is. But you sort of inside with him, and he does the right thing. But he's still all about like, no, they're wrong, I'm going to kill him.
Yeah.
For the right reason, in their right reason.
Yeah, and actually the other thing, isn't it? You've got the remembrances.
Yes.
Which are a massive part of it. So this is kind of your human element of the book. So obviously Space Marines are relatively difficult to like relate to because they're just basically demigods and they just go around killing things and have no fear and don't really interact with things and are not sexually attracted to stuff. So you can't relate to that, can you? They're just trained non-stop and they don't need to eat very much and they don't need to sleep, and it's this kind of like perfect warrior.
Yeah.
But we aren't that. So I mean, most of us aren't that. Except Callum. But of course, the remembrances are kind of like. Do you want to try and explain it?
They're documentaries, aren't they? Like they document, but in ways of like poetry and arts and some like you got your guys who take photos, like your paparazzi. And your cameramen. You got your poets, and the poets are all like
and your
sleazy.
Artists,
yeah.
And then you've got story writers and journalists and all sorts of stuff.
Basically, media is what they are.
But it's done really, really nicely because the idea is to sort of capture this great event of like recapturing human civilization. And
they capture that moment of. So I found out what Oath of Moment actually is.
Yeah.
You hear it in the back game, but it's actually like they have an oath in that moment and written on, watched by the brothers. Brother. It's everyone's brother. And you can actually, people have drawn a picture of the Mornival Loken taking his Oath of Moment in front of.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be a good one to see.
We'll put it up on the video.
Yeah.
I'll find it.
So the Oath of Moment then is like your purity seals that basically are attached to the armour. And it's kind of like, I will do this in battle.
Yeah.
But
it's a big thing, like you to see someone taking Oath of a Moment, let alone the Mornival.
Yeah.
In public was
amazing.
Yeah, and if you get a picture of, I'll show you. We'll get it off. It's a good picture. Someone's drew. Yeah,
no, it's really cool. I just love the way the book is written.
Yeah,
and I love those first 3 books especially. I've not got to the Siege of Terror, and it's something I really want to get back to, but for the time being, I think I'm just burnt out on the whole series, and getting back to it and remembering what's already happened is always quite difficult. So what's your plans then? Are you going to?
I'm probably gonna just go for the 5 books, like they said.
Yeah.
And go Siege of Terror. Then I'll probably go back and listen to like the Thousand Suns one. And,
I'd definitely advise you to do that because obviously you play Thousand Suns.
Yeah.
And those books, I loved them. They were incredible.
Okay, maybe I'll go that first then.
Absolutely incredible.
Does it come from Ariman's point of view?
It comes from it does later on. You've got a lot of Magnus in it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you've got loads of Magnus. And then you've got... I don't even think you see much of the wolves. You see them from, like, Magnus's perspective.
Yeah.
And he knows they're coming, sort of thing. And then it's kind of like the epic battle at the end.
Yeah.
And actually, I said about it all sort of happening at the same time. I'm pretty certain you see him doing the wolf thing.
Oh, no. Yes, actually going into...
I think so. Because I think you see more of like the whole detail behind like him actually like.
That makes sense because there's not much long time before you hear about him going to be dragged back from. Yeah,
because obviously you get that whole like part where he's dragged into that meeting then, and then Mortarion looks down on him and like Sanguinius is nice to him and stuff. And
yeah, because everyone likes Sanguinius. It's nice seeing Sanguinius and Horus act together, and Horus loves Sanguinius.
Yeah, and. Like that's the stuff I really want to look at the end, the siege, because obviously, that battle would be epic between both Sanguinius and
Horus,
yeah.
See if anything emotions come back.
Yeah.
So no, there was with Dawn, wasn't there, apparently? I've not read this either, but he gets stabbed. Dawn's got a weapon, stabs Horus, and for a brief minute or so, Horus comes back down to not corrupt. And I think that's when Abaddon starts to go, well, I don't really like it. He's clearly not what true what we believe in. Yeah, so this is only what I've heard.
The weakness is showing, It is sad.
So I like Abaddon.
Because everything's kind of twisted, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so going back to like that Cadia one, Abaddon's like mental anyway, isn't he? Because he just does whatever he wants.
Yeah.
Like,
the only thing, I said this to you as well. The only thing I didn't like about it was the voice for him. Compared to like the way they did it in the books, like Horus Heresy, the guy who does it there.
Yeah.
I think did it a lot better.
So shifting a little bit, I'm reading a book at the moment. I'll find the name whilst I'm talking. It's basically Dark Eldar and Orcs at the same time. It's called The Big Dakka.
The Big Dakka.
It's I'm an hour or two in at the moment, and essentially the Orcs have managed to get into Comora, which is basically the Dark Eldar city, which is just a random thing to do.
So I don't know anything about Dark Eldar.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you questions on this one. If anyone else don't know.
Just let me get my point.
Yeah.
The narrator, he talks very good Orc, but then it comes across in the Dark Eldar scenes, and you're like, they're not Cockney like Northerners. They might be, but the accent's like a little bit too strong. You're like, it works really well with the Orc side, but the Dark Eldar side.
So it's gone from yeah, boys, have it.
Yeah.
Hey, I can't.
Yeah, no, it's still really good so far. I'm loving it.
Yeah, want some?
just a twinge of accent there.
Yeah, because that was the Ford Acadia. I said to you, that's what they're all Northerners. Double Geordies.
Yeah. Cadia.
Cadia stands. So
Drew.
Comora is in the webway.
Yes.
Orcs can get into the webway, I take it then. They willed it to work and it worked.
No, okay, so I will explain. So, minor spoiler here. You learn it very early on. Basically, the Orcs kind of go on an Eldari planet, and it's kind of a plan hatched by the Dark Eldar to basically go and kill the Orcs, because one wants to get revenge and the other one wants to increase his power, X, Y, and Z. And actually, you find that one of the Cabal leaders, the Archon, has kind of led the Orcs back purposefully so they can do a coup and then do some other stuff. So they shouldn't have been able to get in there. Kind of let them in on purpose.
Someone left the back door open.
Yeah. They're like, oh no, we're running away. Don't chase us.
You can't catch me.
And to be fair, I'm really enjoying the names they call everyone. Like Necrons are like tin heads. Like you've obviously got Beakies, you've got like Humies, you got I think the Dark Eldar are called Pointies. You got Tyranids like bug eyes. I just love it.
They like the Orcs.
I can't remember what they call the actual Eldar.
So don't they call the guns Dakka because they go Dakka, Dakka, Dakka.
Yeah. I just love them. Absolutely love them. Yeah, really good book so far. I'm really liking it. It's fun to hear kind of like the sneaky conniving part of like the Dark City. So yeah,
because it's just like a bunch of betrayal, isn't it, or something like that?
Yeah, so it's all just plans on plans on plans on plans,
yeah.
And obviously they live forever in theory, so they've got a long time to make plans.
And then apparently one of the worst ways to die is by being caught by a homunculus or something.
Well, yeah, the homunculi, the pain, like artisans.
Yeah.
So they basically make it last.
Yeah.
Almost indefinitely. In fact, they probably could make it last almost actually indefinitely. But yeah, they're all about slaves. In fact, actually, interestingly, sticking on the sort of theme of Dark Eldar and Eldar, I've just recently finished the Path of the Eldar trilogy, and weirdly, I didn't realise this would happen, but in the Outcast, Path of the Outcast, which is basically like the Scouts.
Yeah, the Rangers in the tabletop, is that right?
Yeah, so he goes off and he actually bumps into some like dark kin, and he becomes like a bit of a corsair.
So is that like a rebel or something?
So the corsairs are kind of like pirates, but they're like still they're not specifically Drukhari. And they just go on raids and like rob people and stuff. Not very nice, but they bump into the
very nice. Does Dark Eldar's nice?
But yeah, no. So they're not bothered about taking slaves, but obviously the Dark Eldar are. But yeah, he causes some big issues.
Right.
Big issues.
So that's one to look out for whenever you're an Eldar.
Yeah, so
Right.
it's really good actually because you get into quite a lot of the different aspects of Eldar. So, for example, like you learn all about like Phoenix Lords
Yeah.
and just the Exarchs themselves, who essentially are kind of trapped in the path, and you've got different paths actually, which is really cool. So you could have like the Path of Woe, which is basically just you just cry for forever. No, I think it's called the Path of Grieving or something. You know, when like you're on a funeral and you're really sad and crying about stuff.
Just that forever.
It's just that non-stop until you decide to move paths. Or you can become like the Path of like, I don't know, the Path of Servitude, which is basically just being like a servant.
Oh, so if you're a bit kinky, you think I want to be dominated. It's basically. I was not about the kinkiness though, because Sinesh.
Yeah, not allowed to take pleasure from it. Or like the Path of the Warrior, which is obviously where you get your aspects from. Or Path of like Wraith singing, that sort of stuff. It's really cool, and it really gives you like an insight into how things work. And I actually understand like the Exarchs more now. So essentially, you can get trapped in the path of the warrior, and then you might become an Exarch. So if you become an Exarch, you actually, like the Phoenix Lords, get kind of absorbed into their armor, which actually kind of contains every single other Exarch
Yeah.
that's ever existed. So you then kind of merge your soul with them. So you're kind of crushed by their spirit, really. You're just done.
So then, but they get all like the knowledge of what they've learnt in the past
Yeah.
into one.
Yeah,
super
yes.
warrior,
Yeah, so
technically.
they remember, like, there's a really cool scene, actually. There's a guy that, like, is told by a Farseer, you need to be here and you will kill this guy. And actually, he goes there and he gets killed by the guy he's supposed to kill.
Right.
And he's like, but I was supposed to win. And then the Exarch, so basically, his second in command, then puts on his armor and then becomes the Exarch.
Kills the guy.
I think him then dying allows his second in command to kill the guy, and then after that he then puts his armor on and becomes the Exarch. So he did kill him, but he didn't kill him, if that makes sense.
Right, I get it.
It's really clever, and there's lots of like little
You'd
things like that.
Fuming at that Warlock, wouldn't you?
What's that? Sorry.
You'd be fuming at that
You
Warlock.
Yeah, interestingly, you know, obviously you got these worlds that are like feral exodites.
Yes.
So there's this one scene where they're basically like, go to this place and they're like, so we're here to save them, and the seer's like, no, this world's done. They're like, well, why are we here then? Like, surely we need to kill all these people. And he's like, no, you just need to kill that sergeant over there. And that's actually the same scene. And obviously the sergeant is kind of like, he in theory he was going to be like promoted and then promoted and then promoted and then just destroy a like craft world.
Right.
So all they gave a shit about was just killing that one.
It's a bit like that thing, like if you go back in time and kill Hitler, sort of thing. They're going before he gets too big.
Yes.
They get rid of the problem.
Yeah, and it's really interesting to see how like all that works, and looking at the seers, for example, they can look, they almost get strands of life, so they can look forward and they can look backwards. So they can, so for example, Thurana, who moves on to the path of the seer in the second book, she has got a bit of an issue with her dad. And then she kind of like, as part of that, she has to like kind of, she sort of repairs her relationship with her dad, but she kind of goes back and sees how he acted from his perspective, which is quite interesting because, of course, like, you know, you'd never have that opportunity in another way.
So is there a downfall to the Eldar using this power of foresight?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So, you know, you can't always predict. So you might try and, so for example, like a minor spoiler, so please fast forward if you don't want to hear this. Essentially, at one point, Thurana feels that her friend Calandril, who's kind of fallen in love with her, is falling into like there's like a bit of darkness around him, and she can sense that his path is going to like, there's something bad is going to happen.
Yeah.
And so essentially she tries to intervene, but kind of causes it by proxy. Because she wants to like...
So she thought hit the fast forward button rather than the stop.
So, yeah, by her trying to intervene, caused it to happen.
Yeah.
As opposed to...
letting it happen.
Just completely letting things happen as they are. Because by her intervening, it upset him more, and then
So
he went and did.
It's
X, Y,
like
Z.
she can see this is going to happen, but it only happened because she intervened by
Because she
seeing
saw
it.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a real trick to like being a. So obviously she's like a very shit seer to begin with.
Yeah.
Oh,
Callum?
That's your opinion.
So that's our replacement for Callum.
So yeah, lots of interesting like things with that series, and it's been really nice reading it from an Eldar perspective, because I've tried to read it so many times and just been like, oh,
Yeah.
and there's no Audible book for it.
Right.
Read the proper book.
Oh, God, effort.
I know, yeah, I know. What's this?
Come on, workshop, sort it out. You put the prices up. Give us something.
Yeah, cool though. Just nice to see that different the way that they think and the way
Yeah.
they interact. Like there's like real like subtle gestures that they do, and they get really offended if you don't like bow your head in a certain way and stuff. And
A bit la-di-da.
yeah, and there's like a formal way and a non-formal way to do things, and yeah, and you can like everyone's always in communication like telepathically and stuff, and it's completely different, obviously from what we have. But yeah, really cool series itself.
So, Black Library. Definitely worth investigating
Yeah,
into the books.
Harlequins are in there as well.
Oh, nice. You don't really see them.
Yeah, and
hear
you
them
find
much.
out what soul stones are.
Yeah, 'cause that's the way they
Yeah, so
die in the soul. It's rather than getting souls to Slanesh.
yeah,
Is that right?
yeah, so they get captured into their soul
Yeah.
stone instead of being fed to Slanesh, because obviously Slanesh is after all the Eldari, and basically anyone that dies is just instantly like consumed by the
Yes.
He Who Thirsts. But essentially, this is the Eldari's way, the Craftworld's way of protecting people. So they have them like kind of by their heart. They're giving them as like a child, and essentially, it goes into their stone, which is then fed into the Infinity Circuit, which is kind of like weird electricity. Oh, and actually, there's these things in like the Infinity Circuit called warp spiders, which are obviously like known as aspect warriors, but they actually protect the Infinity Circuit from like external stuff, and also within the webway, I think.
Oh, right.
So they're kind of like actual little spiders that like run around and like attack anything that's like not supposed to be there.
Like it was like antibodies protecting the virus sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's
really
interesting.
cool. Yeah, like I said, like loads of cool stuff.
So, yeah, because if you look at the actual models of the Eldar, you see the gems
Yes, you do.
on them.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
if I could get a picture up again,
Yeah.
you can add a picture and
There's
stuff
loads
you
of
see.
gems all the ways.
Yeah, and some people can paint them really, really well. I've
Have
not
you
actually seen your Eldar, don't like in a while.
Yeah, they have not come out for a while.
Yeah.
My more recent Eldar are definitely better painted. My Dark
Yeah.
Eldar I got out the other day, and they need some work. They are dull,
Just don't-
dull,
Need a bit of-
dark, and just.
bit of
I
brightening up.
obviously painted them to get them on the table.
Yeah.
They just need some TLC, really. Probably need completely restripping, if I'm honest, and just starting again.
With
But
me
then-
and Callum have touched on is that your standard and our standard is
I mean, they're coloured in. Yeah.
So actually, it's been talking about Eldar then. I think it was one of the first episodes. It was just you and Callum, and you said you're not playing Eldar because the rules were a bit broken at the time,
Yeah.
and now they seem to be a bit more even. Would you be getting them out anytime soon then?
I played with them the other day, just for see what they were like. I think they're still competitive. I think you can do stuff with them, but you definitely have to work for it now.
So-
It's I love when the cats do that. So you can't see, but the cat's trying to go under something.
If we start laughing randomly, it's because the
Yeah. So I'm more inclined to play them because it's not an auto win,
Yeah.
just because I've taken them.
so we could see them on the tabletop and pictures coming out soon at some point.
Potentially. I don't. I'm not sure. I was kind of eyeing up my tyrannies the other day.
Yeah, because remember, you took about a week to choose a paint scheme.
Like a few weeks, I think. And then I just binned them basically.
Yeah.
So I was thinking the other day, because you know Dougie that we went to the
Yes.
tournament
Yeah.
with,
Tournament. Yeah.
and his orange ones. He said I spoke to him, and thanks for joining our group, Dougie. We had so you told us that you won another best painted when you went to a recent tournament
Yeah,
again.
that is up
So
in Scotland.
they are
isn't it?
clearly doing well, and I was thinking, obviously they're really nice, like bright colour. So you probably haven't seen my Tyranids, but my Tyranids like bright yellowy kind of orange with stripes on their back and stuff. Quite a lot of work for like a horde army. But I was wondering like if I pop them out from like a brightness perspective, because it's quite eye catching, isn't it?
Yeah, you gotta try and go vibrant, like because Dougie's was like fluorescent.
They're really nice though, aren't they? Because
like
they're so like
like
wow.
And if you put them on the table against any sort of bright armies, these would still stand out because they were just eye catching.
That was just amazing. I just loved the way they were like. Just orange like worked really well. It was almost matte orange, but then it had like highlighted, a bit of highlighting, but just enough so it wasn't too much. And then obviously like it was really like defined because obviously you had like the black in between.
But then the Chaos Knights, his team, with him.
They complemented it.
Yeah, complemented really well because that's all. That was really well painted as well.
Yeah,
the Grey Knights, but it's just the Volton next to them. Just you have dark Chaos Knights to really bright.
Yeah, they was just really good. And actually, yeah. So well done, guys. So you also went 5-0 on a recent tournament as well, which is incredible. I'm pretty certain you probably could have done that in the last tournament, but I think it sounded like you got quite unlucky with your game. So yeah. I hope to hear more about your next tournament. We're obviously going to a tournament.
Yes,
just signed up, haven't we?
Just signed up.
And I think I might have persuaded P to come.
Oh, right. Nice.
Yeah. I mean, we might be having Callum come and join us potentially. Another thing, actually, we've been talking about, and we haven't spoken about it, but me and Callum have, is possibly doing some merch.
Yeah.
Solely because it's fun, but obviously it'd be cool for us to see you guys in our shirts and us in our shirts, especially, I'm thinking like at the moment with like cups for like painting, drinking, that sort of thing, and maybe like t-shirts, which would obviously help us from like not even from like a financial perspective, but also from a perspective of people get to see our Chatter Vox and be like, what's that? What's that thing? And especially if we go to a tournament and we're wearing our own, people might just kind of think, well, what's Chatter Vox? What's this? It just gives us like an opening statement to talk about it. But yeah. Lots of cool stuff, but yeah, I'm looking forward to the tournament.
Yeah, it's just one day, isn't it?
Yeah, which I think is
Annihilation.
Just a bit easier, isn't it?
Yeah.
On your soul.
I think there's a few more tournaments coming up. So I've joined this Insta group now as well. And there's a few tournament players in there, so I'm like, it's easier for me to travel around as well to go to different tournaments rather than.
Oh, you think it? So there's a different one that you're going to as well?
Not yet, but I know they go like.
Oh, okay.
I think they're going to one in Manchester.
Oh, wow.
The weekend I'm busy, so I can't go. But I did get invited. If I come along, so I might start going to a few more just to see what there is around.
Yeah, because I was talking to P actually, and I was sort of saying, there is a level of anxiety with the tournaments, but I imagine that after a while it just becomes sort of normal.
Yeah.
You know how when we play together. We just play.
I imagine maybe if you start going out to a lot of tournaments, you probably start seeing similar
the same
people.
Yeah, you are right. And the setup and the layout, and even for us, we know a bit more about the app. We know what to expect in terms of how the day runs, where we go when we go there. Just little things that you're not thinking about the second time or the third time or the fourth time.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it'd be good.
I hope so.
Yeah.
Do you know who you might be taking or thinking of taking?
Put either Tau or Grey Knights.
Yeah, Tau would be interesting. I don't know.
My issue is with Tau, there's a lot of shooting, a lot of dice in 3 hours.
Yeah. So that's obviously always a big issue, isn't it? Because if you're trying to be quick, the more shooting and stuff you have to do. I think shooting's okay if you got the same weapons on units.
Yeah.
So, I really have issues with like repulsors, for example.
Because it's got 20 guns. still
like,
a lot of dice, isn't it?
Yeah, and you'd have to separate them into different colours if you wanted to do them all together.
Then you got your over moments, and now you're re-rolling.
Yeah, and it's the re-rolling and stuff.
If it's
If you're standing next to a tech marine and
It's different, yeah. And if it's at full strength, you get rerolls on the wounds or
and then
reroll
are you
ones.
fly or are you not fly?
Yeah.
And are you this one's a blast weapon, and it's just a lot. It's like shooting half your army, but it's just one model.
Yeah.
And there's a couple of Dark Eldar units that are like that. You can have the Court of the Archon and you can have the Cabalite Warriors, and you can put them all together in one like squad, and they each give you like, one gives you like -1 to hit or -1 to wound or something. The other one gives you like, if you hit them, they take a battle shock test, and then another one gives them like, fights first in combat, and then another one gives them something else, and then each of those weapons have like, there's a blaster in there, there's a dart lance in there, there's a shredder in there, there's a splinter rifle in there, there's a splinter cannon in there, there's a couple of like, it's just like, come on.
Yeah, and
That's one squad.
yeah, I always find as well. You're always constantly looking at your app because you can't remember how many have I got of that gun.
Yeah.
Oh, 6. I've got 2 of that gun. Who's dead? Okay, that makes sense. I've lost that one.
So that's why I kind of think like, if you've just got a squad and they've all got like the same weapon, it's a lot easier. I think Primaris were like that, and I don't know if they still are. They're just the basic intercessors.
Yeah, can't.
I think one got like a grenade gun, and that's a lot better because you're just like, well, that squad's got it, that squad's got it.
Yeah,
roll them
roll it all together. So what army are you tempted to try, do you reckon?
I am tempted to go Drukhari. Quite enjoying them at the moment.
Give them a spin.
Yeah, they got some nasty tricks.
Yeah, apparently that new attachment is actually quite good.
It's incredible. Yeah, it's absolutely incredible. It's got just a lot of like tricksy stuff, which is just how I feel like they should play.
Yeah.
And they are, if you feel like you earn the win, because obviously they just fall over to like a stiff breeze, basically.
Yeah, a stiff drink.
Stiff drink of the blood of my enemies. Yeah, no, they're. I think the other thing that puts me off Eldar at the moment is just the Psyker thing.
Oh, yeah, they got the psychic phase is gone.
Yeah,
It's now just abilities or weapons.
Well, it's just no. It used to be like a big thing, didn't it? But now it's just very much.
It's not a big deal anymore. It's like, yeah.
Well, it's like a bad thing, and you get less choice to begin with. So it used to be you could pick your psychic powers, and
Yeah.
it was very unique, and it was like an extra aspect to the whole thing. But now it's just like, well, you got the psychic keyword, so I've got an anti-psyker.
Yes. Yeah.
And
yeah.
There's no. A lot of the abilities that other sergeants have, they just activate. Whereas psychic abilities, it's like on a 2-up.
Yeah.
Or something. So there's a failed chance, and I don't know.
Yeah.
They just don't feel the same.
Like you go to Old World, you still got the phases. You still got a chance of miscasting.
Yeah.
And all that stuff.
And I don't mind that. I like that.
Risk reward.
Yeah.
You got so many pool of dice or something you can use on.
And I also don't like the way and this is just personal preference, with the way that characters work now. So it used to be you could have obviously like a squad of warlocks and Farseer, and they could all kind of do stuff together. But now you have, leader abilities, don't you? So you have your squad of warlocks, and they can't join a unit each. Well, they kind of can, but also kind of can't, because you might actually want to put a Farseer with that unit. Or
I became put one of your
something else in it. Yeah. Whereas you could just kind of do it all. Before you could put 4 warlocks and a Farseer together, and they could be in.
Yeah, because didn't you have the
It was just within 3 years. They just basically
Farseer Council or something called?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Something like that.
Which is kind of like how they're supposed to be run, and you can put them together, but why wouldn't?
Yeah.
You just wouldn't. Because the way that their rules work, they only work on themselves, and you're just like, well, no.
Yeah, it's the ups and downs of this new season. Isn't there? Like the simplifying the equipment, everyone's just it's good, but then when you got 10 points left over and you can't afford anything,
or just like an extra person. Like I think it does make it more simple, and it probably makes it quicker, and it probably makes it more easy to balance. But then at the same time, I'm not in the game for balance necessarily.
No, it's not. It's never going to be a balanced game.
No.
But
yeah.
I'm quiet.
Nah. So, what are you doing in your hobby world?
Hobby world. To my sins. I've got old daddy who does the 3D printers.
Yes.
And we spoke about this before we recorded, that your last review on 3D printing models was a bit ups and downs, wasn't it? For you, from your point of view.
Yeah, so I don't have an issue against it. I just think the quality of GW stuff is very high.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think you're on the same wavelength now of these days it's much the quality's much more improved with 3D printing. So tell me your experience then.
So mine, well, it's more because they're so, like, I've started Grey Knights now. I know I've always been like anti-imperial.
Just slowly collecting them all. Just to be sure.
It was a few months ago. Probably 6 months ago.
Yeah.
I would listen to a lore thing and it went on Grey Knights. It was a 2-parter.
Yeah.
You just get engrossed in something. Right? These are actually pretty badass. And then in the Dark Imperium, there's a brief scene with a Grey Knight.
Yeah.
And there's a demon or something, and he's Grey Knight just runs past everyone, just fall on into his demon, and the door's closed.
That sounds awesome. What book's that on?
That's a Dark Imperium.
Okay, I haven't got.
Or I think he opens the doors and there's a load of grey warriors in there. He's like, who are they? Oh, none of you, Hannah. We don't need to know.
That's epic.
So yeah, and then I played the Chaos Gate. It was based on the Grey Knights.
Yes.
I'm actually enjoying the lore side of this.
So I don't know if you know the Psy grenades.
Yes.
So they have them obviously as one of their main weapons, and Psy rounds and stuff like that. Essentially, the Golden Throne. I don't know if you know. The Golden Throne. Obviously, they feed psychers to the Golden Throne to keep the Emperor alive.
Yeah.
Now, as a byproduct of doing that, it produces kind of like this liquid, which is like anti-psyker. That's basically what they stick in these weapons. Just absolutely wrecks like psychers.
So this is the byproduct of the
feeding psychers to the Emperor.
And the Emperor's crapping out.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Ammo.
It's awesome. But yeah, like absolutely messes up anything like psychic warp, anything like it's like anti. It's kind of like having squashing a load of those nulls, like a Silent Sisters.
Yes,
into like a pulp and then throwing them at someone.
They are got such good lore.
Yeah.
I do
completely uncorruptible, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's like, again, that's why I think I like this Eisenstein book, because Garrow's in it and he was one of the first Grey Knights or something like that. And
kind of like the founder.
Something like that. He's one of the, So, I've started them. And they're all 3D printed.
Yes.
Currently.
They look really good as well.
Yeah, we'll get posted. I've not put some on Instagram anyway.
Yeah, we've been posting them on Instagram.
Because Daily does some fantastic prints.
God, yeah. Daily, if you ever start listening to
I think he listens. I think he does.
Absolutely incredible 3D printer. Your skill with a print machine is just incredible.
And an alchemist.
Yeah. So for people who don't know, you've got two different types of 3D printing. I think there's a new type coming out soon, but essentially you've got two main types. You've got one that uses like resin. So most people would just buy the product and like pour it in, use it as it is. This chap Daily, he essentially mixes his and makes potions with it to get like better qualities of it.
And it works.
And it's incredible, isn't it? Yeah. So one of my main issues with like 3D printing is the durability and the ability to be able to drop them on the floor and not worry that they're going to snap in half. But seeing what Daily puts out, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is really good, isn't it?
Yeah.
So he's printed me the Grey Knights army. So I started them. And he paint well as well. His prints paint really well. The paint takes through really good. Which is nice.
And it's like real smooth as well, isn't it? And the actual sculpts, and I think this is where like 3D printing is going. You've obviously got so many more people out there who are very talented people. They're getting very used to the software and how to like design these things. So essentially they're just able to, create amazing models and sculpts and stuff that GW are kind of too lazy to do.
And they're not monoposed.
Yeah, exactly.
They all look individual.
Yeah, and sometimes you think like Dark Eldar, for example, you can't even get half their models, which annoys me to no end because how do you expect me to build an army with your models when you don't even sell them? Like, they're completely taken off the range, but they're still in the book. And you're like, well, it's not like they're even sold out. And that's another issue.
Yeah.
I'm willing to give you money, but if you're not even going to let me give you the money to play.
And they're just increasing the prices, aren't they?
And it just I do think it's pushing people away because, of course, if you're constantly raising the price, at some point, someone's not going to be able to afford it. And then if you raise it, the model, it doesn't seem like it's an effective model because at some point there's only going to be one person playing and that one person is buying one model for like £1 million. And then eventually he'll be like, well, I'm the only person playing. This is boring.
Yeah.
I don't see the long-term goal of it. You can't just forever go up in price.
When I was doing on the local tournaments in Old World, there's more and more people now in this tournament who've just got 3D printed armies.
Yeah.
And you can see like it's starting to
actually
shift.
starting to affect people, isn't it?
But the shame thing is as well, which is downer, it might start affecting the businesses. Because you're not buying the models.
Yeah, but a lot of the businesses aren't stupid enough to just take GW.
Yeah, they got other game systems, aren't they? Which you would if they're selling at a fair price and treated the consumer as like they used to. Then people will buy them still. Because
I think the other thing I have issue with, and we've obviously spoken about this off air, is like they box set stuff and they put it behind like that Tau Codex. You can't just. That's not okay.
It's like a physical paywall, isn't it?
It's literally just like milking you for money. It's like, oh, you'll buy it because I'm going to make it difficult. So you'll buy the most expensive thing because you want it now, and they know people will. And it's not. I don't agree with that. So yeah,
that's a little tangent. We've gone on a little rant.
just a nice little rant there for you. Yeah, no, I think that's the other thing that is dangerous to the company is there are alternative options.
Yes.
Which I think they forget. Especially
going to that game expo, there was an eye-opener to what systems there is and what's available.
And so people will get fed up.
I mean, it was a company, I can't remember what they're called. They were there. I've seen it advertised a few times. So you can go on its dashboard, design your model, have it coloured, and then they print it. And
I think I know the one you're talking about. I think I've had that.
And they've got good reviews.
And yeah, I think I've been to them before. But yeah, all worth considering.
Yeah.
And
but Grey Knights then, yes, that's my new army. I'm teleporting around. I played them for the first time a few days ago. Got whooped in the first turn.
First turn?
I went second. At the end of top of turn 2,
I
had to concede because I just couldn't do anything. And I only found out after the games as well.
Yeah.
2 days ago that the Dreadnought actually has 2 weapons, not one.
Okay.
Because I thought he had 1 weapon.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the model either. I was just proxying at the time.
Okay.
So I've now got it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, because obviously, if you're not going to be using the weapons properly, because you haven't read the rules,
or even look at the app properly either way. So can I have 2 weapons?
Yeah, no, you definitely need to do that. It's always like a weird option, isn't it? When you get the ones that are basically saying this model can take this, and you're like,
but I'm going to take it.
But there's no downs. Why are you just giving it to me?
The Hunter Killer.
Yeah.
Do you want to add it?
That's what I mean. Yeah,
of course I want to add it.
Put it as default. I don't want to be pressing the button and forgetting to do it. Just put it as default. There's no reason not to. I'm looking at my phone because I figured this was possibly a good chance to do the questions that we've had that we missed out on like 2, now 4 episodes ago. I know I've had some from Charlie, but I can't seem to find them. It basically boiled down to the way that combat works in Interrupt. Are you able to pull up your app for the stratagem in interrupting?
Yes.
So, with regards to interruption, I do know that essentially it works opposite to opposite. So, if you've already fought, you can't interrupt until your opponent is about to fight again.
What's it called?
Is it
Divine Intervention? No, actually, Heroic Intervention.
No,
it's not that one.
I think it's
Counter-offensive?
Yes.
So do you want me to read it out to you?
Yes, please. Yeah.
So when fight phase just after an enemy unit has fought, target one unit from your army that is within engagement range of one or more enemy units and that has not already been selected to fight this phase. Effect: your unit fights next.
Yeah. So this requires. So in order for this to work, it's just after an enemy unit has fought. So this means that you can't activate it before the fights first. So and you can't do it like consecutively. So if you have 4 CP and you had an ability to counter-offensive more than once, which you can't do, you couldn't keep doing it. So it would still be after the enemy unit has fought. So if you are charged by 2 units, you can then only use it for one of those 2 combats, because obviously those 2 fights first would normally get to fight first before you get a chance to hit back. You can then interrupt the second one.
So until your opponents roll dice, you can't really interrupt.
Yeah. Now, for whatever reason, if your opponent was then locked out of their one, they could probably interrupt you, but only it would be very niche as to when that would be allowed to be done. But yeah, worth knowing, because I think Charlie wanted to know if you were able to do it before the fights first. I can't actually find his question, which is really upsetting. But yeah, there you go. Sorry it took so long, Charlie. And I know you asked me another one, but because I can't find your original question, I can't find the other one. So we'll answer that next time.
Best thing to do, because he's not here to defend himself, is blame Callum.
It's definitely
Callum's fault.
So in the comments, direct them all to Callum.
Yeah, any hate, Callum. Any nice stuff.
So yeah, with regards to any rules, obviously we've had a lot of new rules, so we'll do our best to clarify any of those rules. So keep sending them in. They're a really fun and exciting part for us because it helps us learn, but also hopefully we can share some of the love with yourselves.
In terms of questions, I've got one for you. Right, I might need to demonstrate it a bit with models though to explain this.
Okay.
Okay, so if I get 2 of them, put 2 on the side as we can on camera.
Okay.
If you get another. He's in combat with them.
Yeah. So this is one squad.
Yeah, and that's another squad into combat. That's another completely different squad.
Different squad. Yeah?
Yeah, in fact, might be more Thousand Sons.
All in combat.
So that's his squad.
And he's leading them.
Yeah. Okay, so Thousand Sons are in combat.
Yeah.
Against 2 different squads.
Both squads, yeah?
Yeah. So now, if that squad on the right, the stealth suits, killed the Lord and the guy next to him, so he's dead.
So these 2, yeah?
No, the other guy next to the Fire Warriors.
These ones?
Yeah. Do the Fire Warriors now get to fight? They've not fought yet, because they're not actually touching base with any of the Thousand Sons.
Yeah, so as far as I understand it, they would get a piling move, so they could move up to 3 inches.
What if they're good enough for me to take them away from 3 inches?
No.
Right, so they're just out of combat then? Because they've not actually had their go yet. Is that right?
Yeah.
I thought so. I just wanted to confirm.
Yeah.
That, yeah.
That's how I understand it.
Yeah.
Now, if they would still get to pile in, but they wouldn't be able to actually get there.
Yeah, so they can't physically engage in combat now.
Yeah.
So you could use that tactically to get out of combat. So I think that's what happened to me in the tournament. Yeah. Which was pretty cool.
So there's so this is kind of reminded me of the new Sisters version of like their previous stratagem. Their previous stratagem basically allowed them to, so you're in the same scenario. However, these are the Sisters, the Thousand Sons of the Sisters. Essentially what they used to do is they basically used to use a stratagem on them, which basically meant that this way around. So these guys and these are the Sisters. So these are the Sisters, this is a different unit. What you basically do is you use the stratagem on this one, and this unit can only attack this unit. However, if they weren't eligible to attack unit, they could attack the other one. Now they can only attack that unit. So even if they were like this, they just can't attack at all.
Oh, so you lock them out?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's much better. For Sisters, obviously.
This guy, if you're not watching on video, it's going to be a really Crap sequences.
It's probably terrible on video. Yeah.
Our production values, aren't they?
Yeah. Actually, I'll tell you a little instance that happened the other day with mine and P's game. So P plays who's playing hyper phase, hyper crypt, or whatever it's called, Necrons.
Yeah.
Which basically means at the end of your turn, so as the opponent, that's my turn, you get to basically take models off the board. Now, most rules that I've heard with this are basically, if you're not in combat,
Yeah.
you can do this. That doesn't count for Necrons.
Of course it don't.
And the wording for it is even worse because it also says at the end of your turn. So at the end of your opponent's turn, you do this. Right, so the Dark Eldar have an ability where they, with the Sky Splinter Assault, at the end of the fight phase, if you don't have any enemies in like engagement range, you can basically get back in a transport.
Yeah.
It's at the end of the fight phase. So I went into P, killed 99.9% of his squad. P then proceeded to roll like 1 million invulnerable saves on his last character, who survived. So
Yeah.
obviously I couldn't then jump back in my
So
vehicle.
P's still doing that then?
Yeah. So then he jumped up into the sky, and I couldn't get back on my vehicle because he did it at the end of my turn, which wasn't the end of the fight phase, which actually is the end of the fight phase, but it's not the end of the turn. Yeah, so I just stood there like a lemon with my T3 like boss unit.
Just ready to be shot at.
Because the beauty of the Sky Splinter Assault is I would have got them back on the transport, and then at the end of his movement phase, I could then move D6 that transport, so I could just move around the corner.
Right.
To make it even harder to at least make him work for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Whereas
Work for the kill.
at that time, it was just like, well, they just hurt me a lot.
They're targeted.
They're dead.
They are marked for death.
Yeah, it was not fun. To be fair, that game was quite fun, but that was a bit sad.
So no, as other rules, that's why. So the Demon Prince with wings and 1,000 Suns has a end of turn. You can take him off the board.
Yeah.
So if he's now doing an action that has to wait till the end of turn,
Yeah.
I think I've read it now from what I've had to go to inset for this is the way the stages work. He has to. It works out the way it doesn't work out for you. So I think he has to stay on the ground to complete the action, so he can't go off. Because once he goes off, he fails the action.
I think there is a ruling, and I can't remember which way it is. It's either when it's your turn, it's the opposite of what you want, or the way you want it. And you can basically, when rules are the same time,
Yeah.
I think you basically get to choose which one you want to go first. So obviously, if you say end of turn,
Yeah.
it has to be the end of turn, and then you could choose the end of turn.
It's
The other way
really
round.
weird. Wait, there's something else we had on the weekend. I can't remember what it was. This one's to do the movement phase.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was.
Well, not to worry. We can have a little think about
Yeah.
it, and we can bring it back. But yeah, I think that's probably a good place to
Ended there.
potentially finish, unless you want to got anything else to talk about.
Don't think we haven't talked about your weekend, but I think it's only fair to wait to Callum to come back for talk about your dirty weekend. Or
Well,
whatever.
I can talk about my side because I had my two.
Give us a brief rundown, and then when Callum's back, we can go into like.
Yeah, so obviously we do our sort of like every now and then we have a 2v. Well, no, we don't have a 2v2. We have 4 people go up. 2 of them play one game, and the other people play the other side, and then we swap opponents.
I couldn't go to this, so you had a guest.
Yeah, so we brought Harrison on. So hi, Harrison. It was great meeting you and enjoyed playing with you. So yeah, so my first game actually was versus Harrison. So this was a Raven Guard versus Drukhari. And from memory, there was 3 Ballista Dreadnoughts, 2 units of Intercessors, and a tank of some sort. Might be a Gladiator.
How many points did you do each?
1,500.
Okay, so you've gone up. Last time we did 1,000, didn't we?
Did we? Did
What was
we
it?
1,000?
No, it'd been 1,500 because I took Magnus. Yeah, 1,500, yeah.
So Harrison started first. He got first turn. Basically, quite seriously wounded my Dark Eldar Ravager. Ravagers have like a lot of like anti-tank weaponry, so it was the right way to start the game. Unluckily, he didn't manage to kill that thing, but I did throw a CP at it to give it like a 4-up invuln. And that there wasn't a lot else for him to shoot at, because obviously it was like ruins and he had first turn. I'd hidden everything quite well. So I then proceeded to, I think, move out and cancel that cancel that thing that targeted me. He'd also moved a squad onto an objective that was like, so our two primaries were right next to each other. He moved onto it, which was probably the right thing to do, but then I threw my combat unit straight at that unit, and essentially blitzed them. Then got back into my vehicle and backed up a little bit, like the plan. But whilst I was there, I think there was a couple of times, and this kind of became a bit of an ongoing combat. There was a couple of times whereby my Archon, who was out there doing stuff, wasn't like overwatched and wasn't X, Y, and Z because it would have been 2 CP.
Oh, his aura.
Yeah. So this is one we were talking about last episode, where essentially it was actually having quite a big effect, because all of his army was kind of in this one place. His ballistas dreadnoughts were like miles away, kind of out of the combat.
Not where I want to be.
Yeah. Well, no, not really.
I keep thinking ballistas and brutalis. I keep getting mixed up.
The ballistas were miles away, and they weren't helpful because they were like, the line of sights were really bad, so they just couldn't do what they needed to do, which kind of like kept him back a little bit. So I kind of blitzed up a couple of things, and then my unit of witches was kind of in the corner. And first turn, I think I got investigate signals, so I got 3 for that.
You were playing the old mission still, wasn't you?
Yes, yeah. And then I had Lilith, and Lilith is an absolute infantry blender. She's mental, man.
Yeah.
I love her. She's like anti-infantry, like 8 attacks, sustain 2, re-rolling all hits, +1 strength, +1 to wound if gets out of vehicle. Then you can do all sorts of other stuff. It's like -3 AP.
How many points is she?
I think it's probably like 100 and something points.
It's not bad, is it?
But then you stick her with a squad of witches and she gets better even still.
It's fair to say Harrison's quite new to 40k. He's more of a
pretty
Blood
much
Bowl.
much brand new. Yeah, so
new player, and he got a right good scene to offer you, as we all have.
Well, interested. I think he did really well, to be honest. So I think he conceded on the end of turn, possibly the end. Yeah, the end of turn 3.
Yeah.
So would have started turn 4. So at that point it was 34-18.
Okay.
I don't think there was a lot left though. So I would have just kind of got lots more points at that point. Yeah. Which I always quite like that about Drukhari, is like once you've started, either way, whether you're winning or losing, it's a snowball. So it's, it kind of goes quickly.
On to the next one.
Yeah. Mine and PJ's game was quite good. Oh, actually, interestingly, I brought a Razor Wing
This is the flyer he was on about last time.
Yeah, jet fighter. And basically, it was like pretty much anti-infantry, and he stuck a load of Terminators on like a squad, and did nothing, just completely bounced, did nothing at all, and then essentially just, that was it.
That was him gone.
He just blew it up the next turn. Just like, bye. I've got anti-fly. Yeah, so that was interesting. Did a little bit more in the second game. So we played, it was Necron's Hypercrypt versus my Drukhari, and essentially first turn I think went to me, and I basically ran my worst unit into the middle just to kind of hold the position, so I would get that objective. And Cabal units get sticky when they're in a Raider or a Venom, so that was kind of my tactic. I kind of moved everything sort of forward, but I had so many units I could kind of like stop P from like deep striking in.
Oh, so you had the...
I didn't have the 12.
No, but you still did.
I just kept denying him
a deep strike.
Because obviously he can pick units.
Zoning out. So I'm trying to think of.
He can pick units up every single turn and just drop them anywhere. So I just didn't want him doing that.
Because zoning out's definitely zoning out's the thing you want to learn if you've got like deep strikers.
Yeah, and Mandrakes actually, and anybody with scouts, the kind of uppy downy thing is amazing. For anyone who doesn't know what that is, it's essentially the ability to, at the end of your opponent's turn, pick your models up, and then in your turn you can put them wherever you want. If
you want to see the easy way of explaining that, look at the Grey Knights army rule.
Yes, yeah. It's really, really helpful. And I did that quite a lot in both games and kind of got like behind enemy lines and deploy teleport homers and capture enemy objective and investigate signals. You know, they were just where they needed to be at all times. And actually in the first game, I think Harrison tried to kill them. They -1 to hit because they're kind of like shadow people. But essentially he killed like all but 2. And they were the one they used the battle stratagem, as in auto pass there.
Oh, the battles.
In order for them to do the action in the corner, which was really useful. So essentially, yeah, game 2. Stuck my Kronos, I think it was, in the middle. P fired at it with his like big scary rocket thing. Everything else just kind of ran forward. Didn't really have anything to shoot at. But I think he did like 2 wounds to it. 4 damage total, which was surprising. I thought it was dead. So that worked in my favour. And then I think at the end of that turn, he picked his like Katana up, his Nightbringer. And in my turn, the next turn, he brought it down in my deployment zone in like a really weird place. Couldn't charge with it because with the Hypercrypt you can use a CP to basically do like a within 3 inches, but you can't charge.
Yes, yeah.
So I couldn't zone him out from 3 inches, but I could zone him out from 9 to stop him charging at me. But at that point so we've skipped a turn, but essentially, yeah, I'll go back to the turn. So the next turn I kind of ran my guys forward to a position where I could get out and charge without being overwatched. So with Lilith, her Venom sadly got destroyed in the first, but essentially her squad was kind of protected. But that basically meant that I couldn't get out and not get overwatched with her as easily.
Yeah.
The one with the what they called Incubi and the Archon, he had an enhancement that meant you couldn't overwatch him when he gets out of a vehicle, which basically meant I could run them up, get out, and then like attack with them and not have an issue with them. Lilith kind of very cleverly started in a position where you couldn't see her, moved to a position where you couldn't see her, so you couldn't actually do anything. But then she failed a charge, which was really upsetting because obviously she was charging through terrain, which would have been perfect.
Yeah.
She would have blended that unit in X, Y, and Z. And in the second turn, so my Incubi blended the first unit, which is the one that ran away, and he didn't go up into the air. Oh no, he went up into the air and they couldn't get back in. The other unit failed their charge, and I brought my plane on and pretty much decimated. So it had like anti-infantry, so it was hitting on 2s because it was ground assault craft, and wounding on 2s, and it had blast, and it had other stuff. So it did quite a fair bit of damage to that unit. So in the following turn, P brought his like Catan down, decimated my plane.
Yeah.
Was it that turn? Yeah, yeah.
So I've mentioned for people who some like Harrison's as new to it, the reason why you couldn't overwatch Lilith would be because she's behind, can't be seen before the charge.
So it's not like they're moving across.
Yeah.
So the way that Overwatch works is it's from the start or the end of movement. So if you can't see them at the start, you can't overwatch them.
Yeah.
Can't see them at the end, you can't overwatch them. It's not if you go past a window, which is what she actually did. It's not that you can do it mid movement. There's either start or end, so there's no way.
So because how terrain works, she can't see through terrain.
Yeah.
She can't be seen at the start of the move by anyone before she's moved, and then when the time she has moved, at the end of it, she's in combat and you can't overwatch.
She wasn't actually in combat, but she wanted to be in combat. So I'd set it up so that I could actually also charge and not be overwatched as well, because I was going to charge through terrain which couldn't be wasn't visible.
So if people are wondering why they can't overwatch, that's the reason.
Yeah. I was quite gutted she didn't make a charge. Long story short, we played that game really well. I did at one point throw 8 melter weapons at the Catan and did like the equivalent of 4 damage.
I've not got against one.
I don't know how you kill that thing.
We just ignore him. Maybe he's got to be
8 melter weapons. I was re-rolling hits.
I've never been against one to know.
They're awful. Basically, they have like a 4-up in one. They're like toughness 12. They have like, I think like 12 wounds or 14 wounds or something. And then they have feel no pain of 5-up. And then they like halve all damage. And then they also get wounds back. It's like, cool. How is anyone going to kill this? At one point, P like dumped his like monolith right in the middle of the. I'm doing a terrible recap here. It's just kind of all over the place. He dumped his like monolith right in the middle of the table and just started blatting stuff. Oh, yeah. I'll leave Callum to explain what he did, what his monolith did.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
his game. But yeah, I went into combat with it, and it basically like it hurt me more in combat than it did in shooting. So that thing is weird.
So who won that game then?
So I won that game quite significantly, and I think we sort of discussed it off air. But essentially, there was a few turns where P had defend stronghold, defend home objective or whatever it is. Basically, you hold your own objective.
Yeah.
Which is it procs at the end of your opponent's
Defend
turn.
stronghold, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it procs at the end of your opponent's turn. So he had it. He obviously expected to keep it at the end of his turn, and what I did really quite cleverly. So he had four guys on the objective. I essentially had my Ravager just close enough to get like to here. The 3 inches was at the edge of the wall, and there was like a little blip of like distance from the thing. So I managed to get 5 guys on, and
nice.
they're worth 2, and his are worth 2. So I basically like just took it off him. They then got killed the following turn, to which he kept it because he was like, "Well, I'm going to keep it now."
Yeah.
And then I dropped, and then I think I then went, I then dropped my mandrakes in behind, and then sent my raider, which was still alive, around, and rammed him with the new toughness 8 tank shot.
Yeah.
And killed every single one. Took the thing off him. To which case, obviously, his Catan was over there as well. Like,
Yeah.
it then minced my thing, but I denied him for 2 turns at that point to have that thing. And on top of that, I also, in that turn where I rammed him, I also had, I think it was like behind enemy lines and storm enemy objective, take enemy objective.
Yeah. So it was perfect storm.
So it was like a deny and
Yeah.
gaining points for me. So towards the end, I think I only had like 2 Ravagers left, like 1 Mandrake, and like
Then that's the point of it being a points game.
Cabalites. Yeah, I could have probably just ran around for a bit. So with the new secret objectives, P might have like done me some harm with that, but it would have been difficult for him to come back, I think. So we kind of called it there.
Yeah.
We're all very drunk as well. At this point. So yeah, no, it was a really, really good weekend.
Good.
We enjoyed that. Do you want to tell me about yours?
Mine's just at the club, games on Blood Angels, against that Thousand Suns. It was never been like Thousand Suns before.
So what were the Blood Angels like?
Good. And they're in a really nice paint as well.
Were they?
Excuse me.
Like standard colour, like red or...
Yeah, red, yeah, all classic, yeah. The guy who loves Imperial.
Okay.
So the club's opened up by me and Kidderminster. Yeah, we ended up turn 3, but I think it was quite even.
That's good.
Again, because I couldn't get the action, because I had to shoot.
You couldn't work out.
Couldn't do the objectives. Because he was just constantly attacking me.
Yeah.
As you would with Blood Angels in combat.
So was there lots of like fly units?
He had a lot of jetpacks.
Did he have like golden guys?
He had Dante.
Ah, nice.
I didn't bolted his squad.
Did he use the Sanguinor?
Which one?
Kind of like pops up?
No.
Okay.
No, he didn't use that. He had
Mephiston,
yeah, he had him. That was the one where Brutalis blew up. The Mutilif blew up because of Brutalis killing him. There's destruction. And then the day after was the Grey Knights. That's when I went against our friend Pete.
Yeah.
The Space Wolves. And I mean, he rolls 6s all the time. I think you actually put a picture up in the chat, didn't you, of the dice?
Yeah. People are like, I bet you were upset about that too.
So he basically had, I think his Ragnar's got 10. Well, he has 10 attacks, who sustained. So he did like 15 wounds to me, or something like that.
Just one point whilst he's talking about that. I think that's another thing they clarified was the rules that occur based on a reaction. So I can't remember if is it Bjorn that if you hit him, he then gets to activate and shoot or attack back.
Right, yeah.
Is it him?
Yeah, Beyond Fair-Handed.
So basically, they clarified that it does keep happening.
Oh, so...
Yeah, so that's actually, yeah.
So you shoot him with one in your squad, he shoots back. You shoot him with another squad, he shoots back.
Yeah. I think that was already like how people played it, but it's nice
confirmed
to have the clarification.
That's good.
So it just smashed you.
If that's the first game, that's the turn 2, I had to end it.
Yeah.
And we re-racked. I went again.
Oh, really? Because it was that fast?
Yeah, it was that fast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good, though.
Yeah, it was good as well to see.
The different way that you could play.
And then we revaxed, and I was using things, because obviously Greynots can go up and down. So suddenly I started putting things up, putting behind in his deployment zone, behind him, so he had to...
Okay, yeah.
turn
Think
around.
about turning around and going back.
Yeah, and I mean, we always have good games.
Hmm.
It's funny, because he said in one... Because the Greynots was a bit tougher than whatever else I play. He's not used to having the combat go on. He's so used to just going in, smashing.
Yeah, carrying on. That's quite
so
good,
that was
actually.
good.
Yeah.
But yeah, he got the win then. He's a good player.
Yeah.
And his whole arm is painted now, I think. So
yeah. And I do like Pete's conversions that he's done.
Yeah.
He's got like
the Blade Guarders,
Wolfy version stuff.
So putting in pots for Pete doesn't like... He plays Space Wolves, but he wants to stick to
Space
Wolves,
style.
yeah. So if they don't like Wolves, so the new Primaris stuff he has very little of. And I think that catches people out. I'll just get the mic.
What does?
Using the old, like... The older stuff.
Because it's older, yeah.
Yeah, people aren't used to playing it.
Yeah.
And then he uses it so well. I think Pete knows his army.
And that's
so well.
And that's why, like, factions that... This is why there is an argument for, in the meta, like, armies may or may not be good. But if you know your army well and you play your army well, you'll still beat people that don't do very well. Yeah. Because you know, like, what it can do, how it works, what works best with X, Y, and Z, what it can and can't achieve realistically.
Yeah. I think the only other thing to sort out now is, again, episode 5 or 6 or something. Callum called me out.
Have you still not played?
No, I think I'm asking him, and he is carrying away from me. So I will go public now. Alright, Callum, you lay down the challenge. Step up to it then.
Bring it on.
Bring it. I've got the table here. I've got the mat.
Got no excuses. Why have you turned into a cat and start wandering around?
I've got the army. I've got the guns.
Yeah, no, I do want you to have that game.
Yeah.
Be good to see.
I've not actually gone against him since that last year's.
It's weird that you haven't.
Yeah. I blame him. Okay, he's not easy for himself. But I think that's where I've got nothing else.
Yeah, no, good. But again, as we've said before, thank you for joining us.
Yep.
We love having you with us. Again, if you want to help us out, obviously subscribe, like us, share with your friends, share with your mom, your family. Just share to anybody.
Every time you like us, a dog does grow tail. So
yeah,
there is that. And every time you don't like us and you watch us, though, then the dog loses its tail. So like us, and then more dogs have tails.
Because we don't want dogs not to have tails.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not fair.
So
what could they wouldn't be able to wag anything.
Yeah.
Would they?
Justice of dogs' tails. Like, share, and subscribe.
And with that note, I've been James.
And I'm Dave.
Keep on hammering.
No!